Hello and welcome. We thank you for joining us on your lunch or coffee break. Just a note that in our email blast, it said 45 minutes for the prep talk today, but it is actually 30 minutes. So I just want to let you know that. On behalf of the Iris Center, I'm really excited to welcome you to today's prep talk. This is our fourth session designed to introduce college and university teacher education faculty to the OSEP-funded national centers. My name is Sarah Simone, and I'm the Iris Center's Technical Assistance Coordinator. Today, we're thrilled to be partnering with the TIES Center. They're going to be sharing some wonderful resources that you can use in your courses to help ensure your teacher candidates have the knowledge and skills that they need to include students with significant cognitive disabilities in general education classrooms. Before we begin, I have a few logistical notes to mention. First on our agenda, Kristi Liu and Jessica Bowman will share some TIES resources with us for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll have some time set aside for questions and discussion. At about 1:30 Eastern, we will wrap up and share some final information, but then we'll keep the Zoom open for another 30 minutes for anyone who wants to stay on and continue the conversation. We are recording this session to share with those who are unable to attend live. And I want to let you know that our prep talks from earlier in the year, from last year, featuring the Progress Center, AIM, Bookshare, and the Cadre Center are up on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, please check those out. And the link to the YouTube channel is in the chat. Additionally, we will be posting a recording of today's presentation, but not the group discussion afterwards. So please feel free to share in the discussion. And now, without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Kristi Liu and Jessica Bowman from TIES.
Thank you, Sarah. Good to see you all and welcome to this prep talk. We're here to share TIES Center resources for teacher prep programs. We're going to feature a module that we co-developed with the Iris Center, but also tell you about some other resources we have which might be applicable to your classes and to you. A note here up front, Sarah mentioned that these prep talks feature OSEP-funded technical assistance centers. We were the National Center on Inclusive Practices and Policies for Students with Significant Cognitive Disabilities, K-8, up until September of 2022, and now we're continuing still as the TIES Center without that federal funding on a mix of grants and contracts. So the resources that you see today will continue to be available in the future, and we hope you'll check them out. So here's us. I'm Kristi Liu. I'm the director of TIES Center. Jessica.
And I'm Jessica Bowman, and I'm also with TIES, and we're housed at the University of Minnesota.
So just a little bit about our name. If you've ever wondered what the TIES refers to, it's really an acronym that captures the work that we do. So the T in TIES is about time and general education. We are really passionate about working with states, schools, and districts to ensure that students with significant cognitive disabilities are included in grade level general education classrooms at least 80% of the school day, which provides an age appropriate home base for each student, and that there's a limited amount of instruction outside of the general education classroom that actually would be available to any student who needed it. The I represents instructional effectiveness, and a key part of this is collaboration between general ed, which would include English learner teachers if there are English learners with significant cognitive disabilities, special ed, specialized instructional support personnel, and paraprofessionals to provide curriculum and instruction in grade level gen ed classrooms that increases the involvement and progress in the general education curriculum and supports the individual needs of any student. This allows all students to benefit from having access to educators with varying expertise. We help schools to implement universal design for learning in their classrooms, and we help them to integrate specially designed instruction and other evidence-based strategies into inclusive general ed settings. The E is for engagement, and that's two kinds of engagement in the gen ed curriculum and engagement with age grade peers. Each child is supported to establish relationships and friendships with grade level classmates with and without disabilities who have a wide range of strengths and needs. A key component of that engagement is supporting every child to have a communication system. And one of our resources today will highlight that. And then the S is support. Support needs to occur at the state and the district levels for inclusive education to increase the time, the instructional effectiveness, and the engagement of students, as mentioned previously here. There's a shared ethic of thinking inclusion first and expecting that all students belong in general ed classrooms and schools together. And let me see, what's my last one? I'm looking at my speaker notes here. I guess deviating from my notes a bit, I would say that our work emphasizes shared leadership at all of the different levels of the system to ensure that inclusive instruction is a thing that continues past an individual educator or student.
So today, like Kristi said, we will share some resources with you. These resources will focus on inclusive practices, including things like providing access to the general education curriculum, planning and collaboration, and supporting the communication of students with significant cognitive disabilities. And then some of our resources are also focused on really on just preparing educators to support inclusive practices. So really in that higher ed setting, what does that look like? So next slide. So first, we wanted to share a little bit with you about the new module that TIES worked with the IRIS Center to create. It's called Inclusion of Students with Significant Cognitive Disabilities Supports in the General Education Classroom. You can go to the next slide. So this module asks the question, why should students with significant cognitive disabilities be included in general education classrooms? So kind of starting off with that rationale at the beginning, talks about who are students with significant cognitive disabilities, inclusion in policy and practice, and then what access to the general education curriculum means and what it looks like. Next, it goes into the question, how can teachers best plan for and teach students with significant cognitive disabilities in inclusive classrooms? And that goes into goals, services, and supports, collaborative practices, and addressing instructional needs. And the module is, designed a lot like other IRIS modules, the next slide, and where there's lots of ways to engage with the content. So lots of graphics, lots of highlighted text boxes that that kind of show the key points. Next slide. You'll also find educator toolbox on a few of the pages that highlight other resources if the person taking the module wants to learn more about that topic, and then audio descriptions from special education researchers on some of those inclusive practices. Next slide. So we have 4 other resources that we'd like to share with you from the TIES Center. The first one is Teacher Preparation for Inclusive Practices, a resource for teacher educators. And this came out as some of our partners who are also teaching pre-service educator courses, and they were using TIES Center resources in those courses. So what they did was they mapped out all of the TIES Center resources that align with various educator and education leader standards. So they used the CEC 2020 standards, in-task standards, high leverage practices, and then they went into one state's professional teaching standards. So I can put a link to that one in a second. But on the left, when you open it, you'll see there's a table of contents with all the different standards. And then on the right are the different TIES resources that align with those standards. There's also sample syllabi for 2 different courses, I believe, that were actually used at the University of North Carolina. One course was on modifying instruction for learners with diverse needs, and then the other course sample syllabi was content area instruction for students with special needs. So that includes those TIES resources, what objectives they align to in the course, and then some activities as well. So that's a really neat resource that you might be interested in checking out if you're planning for your classes and wanting to kind of infuse some new resources and content. Next slide. So the next resource that we wanted to share, this one is called Comprehensive Inclusive Education, General Education and the Inclusive IEP. And this one really goes into a planning process for IEP teams to really capture the focus that a student is a full member of the general education classroom. So it really goes into how to develop goals that can be implemented in an inclusive classroom, how to plan for special education services to be provided in a way that isn't taking the student away from the general education classroom, but really infusing those services into the general education classroom. So it includes a really helpful worksheet and some planning questions that really kind of dig deep into some of those for teams to really consider what it is that they're planning for a student and why. So that's the next one. Next slide.
All right, so I think this one's back to me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an online professional learning course, but I think it could be really applicable to students, say, in a training program for being a speech language pathologist. So it was a resource developed by our partners at the University of Kentucky, and it's actually on the website of the HDI. I'm going to forget what that acronym stands for, Human Development Institute, something like that, website. And so you'll see a link on our website to go there and to register. It's a free course. You register so that it can track your progress, and so you can get back in, if you do a section of it and you leave and you come back. And also the registration helps if individuals are interested in getting an hour of ASHA credit. That's the speech language hearing professional organization. So there's 1 hour of ASHA credit available for speech language pathologists at no charge. And there's a certificate for 1 hour of credit available for other types of individuals who take it. This is a compilation of a series of short resources we have on our website that we call TIES Inclusive Practices or TIPS. And there's a whole sub-series on developing communicative competence in students with significant cognitive disabilities to ensure that they have a way to communicate in the classroom. And so we compiled those into this online course, and it's got interactive elements to it. I believe it has some video that's embedded in those tips, has been brought into this course as well. So this is a really great resource that if those of you who work to prepare these types of professionals might use in your classroom. And then this one was developed by our partners at the University of Cincinnati. And this relates to graduate preparation in school psychology and how it can be expanded to better equip school psychologists with the competence and expertise needed to be strong advocates for quality inclusion of kids with significant cognitive disabilities in the gen ed classroom. So it begins with a review of the rationale for inclusion. It highlights the role of a school psychologist and what they can do to help promote inclusive practices. And it embeds those in the National Association of School Psychologists practice model domains from NASP 2020. And finally, it provides recommendations for ways that school psychology's preparation programs can increase the competence and confidence of future school psychologists to advocate for quality inclusion. Hang on 1 second here. Okay. So that's just a quick summary. We've got a lot of great resources on the website. As Jessica mentioned, they're often embedded into some of these other ones we've shared today. So you can really get into one resource and then see options for more to look at. In addition, we hope those things are linked in your handout. But in addition, we hope you'll visit us online at tiescenter.org. We have a Facebook account, and we hope that you'll follow us there. We have a lot of videos, including a lot of new ones that are coming out on YouTube that really highlight actual footage from inclusive classrooms, which may be something that you and your students would enjoy looking at. And then that bottom little green logo on the left, is Teachers Pay Teachers, where we have an account with free resources that really talk about applying some inclusive instructional strategies in action. So on TPT, there are materials as well. Jessica, do you want to say anything about the newsletter highlighted on the right side?
Yeah, if you want to find out about new resources coming out of TIES, you can do that by going to our website and scrolling all the way to the bottom, and there's a little box to join our e-newsletter that just comes out. I think it's quarterly now, so it's not very often, but it'll just kind of remind you when we have some new resources that you might want to check out.
All right, thank you so much, Kristi and Jessica. As a former teacher educator myself, I can really see how these resources will be invaluable to faculty in many different programs. In the chat, we have added the handout with the links to these wonderful resources from TIES. And additionally, there is a link to the new IRIS module that was developed in collaboration with Kristi and Jessica and their team. And we hope that everyone here and everyone watching later will be able to use these resources in your courses right away.